Do you think that things will change in terms of workers' rights and, the servant class having more rights? I mean, a lot of instances, the servant class is basically it's indentured servitude, right? In terms of how um, uh, they're treated. They'll work for generations for the same family in the same households because um, they're um, they're indebted to those families. Has this pandemic brought forth any questions in terms of taking care of the working class, the working poor, taking care of the servant class, workers' rights? Are there any of those kinds of conversations happening? Because there's some feelings that when things return back to normal,
Yeah,
we can choose to do things a little bit differently.
yeah, definitely. That's an interesting question because here in Kerala we have a significant migrant worker population, and a significant amount of them uh, have been stuck here, and a few of them might have some work, but a majority of them are not working. And for them, the approach that our state government has been taking now, that they kind of calling them guest workers versus migrant workers. So
Hmm.
kind of removing that negative word from the of migrant to guest worker, so making them feel more welcome and providing food and shelter for them also. So you have this aspect to it. So I think governments, local governments, state governments, definitely more forced and uh, more conscious about people, especially people who are coming from outside of their own states, because again, using the word guest means totally different from using the word migrant, right?
I love that.
Um,
I love that. Maybe there is, Pathros, a little silver lining in all of this. If you're telling me that, people are getting along better because they realize there's more important things than just religious difference to worry about when you have food and shelter concerns, and we're all getting along in terms of on a human level. And language matters, my friend. And
mhm.
just that simple change from migrant to guest, I think, speaks volumes in how you treat a person. I love that. So let's hope that maybe the whole, everybody keeps talking about a better world after all of this. I'm a bit skeptical because I feel like you know when things open up again, we're all going to be so worried about getting back to our previous lives and fending for ourselves and recovering our businesses and occupations and all that kind of stuff, that things are going to go back to how they were before. But I am hopeful that the longer this goes on, that we all realize that there are certain ways that we are living our lives and treating others, that it doesn't take a lot for us to be able to change that. And it's just a simple attitude of realizing that everything you do, everything you consume, everything you take and give to people affects more than just that one person. It affects how we treat each other overall.
Yeah, and that's the question, right? So, how do we treat each other? How do we go forward once this is over? That's the big question. And I think it's going to be very difficult for things to be the same way going forward. Also, it's it's at this point, I think people are kind of reduced to basic necessities, right? So once things are uh, slowly back to normal, again, people are not looking for their basic needs anymore. People are looking for other things, right? So luxuries that they're kind of pursuing before. So that kind of uh, shift in dynamics is definitely going to change perspectives. And again, now focusing on health and shelter and food versus pursuing those luxuries, definitely it's going to be tough for everyone to, I think, change 100%.
Well, it goes back to those theories on growth of civilization, right? So when we were in villages, we took better care of each other because we knew each other, right? And then when we
Yeah.
grew to towns, then the space between me and the person next door becomes wider and I don't know them. So, I have a less concern for their well-being. And then cities, even more, we're even further removed from each other and more strangers. So, I think things like this pandemic have brought back that, again, that almost village mentality of like taking care of yourself and your neighbors and realizing how your actions can affect other people. Just that simple change, I think, again, like that awakening, that realizing that everything I do, from
Mhm.
washing my hands and wearing a face mask, can help others, or I can neglect to do that and harm others. I think that simple shift in mentality hopefully carries us through other things that we do as well. It's been a pleasure, Pathros, my friend. I always enjoy talking to you. I miss it dearly, and hopefully we can stay in touch. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and bringing all the insights that you brought in. I
Yeah.
think this is going to be really helpful to people to actually hear from someone who's living it on the ground in India.